Okay, for this assignment, the goal is to create two compositions influenced by the Bauhaus movement. So just focusing on very simple shapes in line work. Your shapes can be kind of a blend of geometric as well as organic. You want to have, thick and thin lines. You'll definitely want to use up the space. Now, while in this composition, all of the elements are fitting on the page, you can certainly have things run off the edge. Again, that's that concept of continuation. So you'll get to kind of go back to those Gestalt principles and then now apply them using some color, having a little bit more fun than just the black and white squares that we created. If you do not have stencils and things like that at home, you can certainly just find lids and different things around your house to trace. And then of course, even if you don't have a ruler, you can use the edge of a book, something like that, to create like a straight edge. I recommend kind of sketching out some ideas first. I did put this thumbnail sheet into Canvas. Your ideas can basically just be really rough. This is just an example of what one student came up with. And you can see even with this one, she didn't even quite finish the coloring part. She just kind of played out like what she wanted to create. If you don't have a means to print, you could easily just draw 6 boxes. The goal is to do about 6 thumbnails and then kind of from there figure out which ones you like the best. Again, this is all about fun, exploring, making an abstract composition. There really is no wrong way to do this, but some of the things I'll be looking for are, do you have a sense of variety? And we have studied variety several times this semester. So for example, do you use a variety of colors? Do you have a variety of shapes? Do you have a variety of sizes? So those are all different things you can think of. Thick lines, thin lines, shapes that are filled in, shapes that are not filled in. When you're working on your actual composition, again, you can use things like stencils if you happen to have something like that laying around, or you simply can just trace objects, lids and things like that. If you have a straight edge, that kind of thing. When you're using the Sharpie, again, you can have lines that are thick as well as lines that are thin. The goal is that you're going to have black and white lines, and I'm just going to trace this little guy real quick, or black lines, excuse me, on the white paper. You're going to pick 2 of your favorite thumbnails to create compositions of. Again, thumbnails are just a part of the design process. And again, you can do things kind of freehand too. By no means do you have to have everything traced, especially if you don't have any kind of means to stencil anything. I encourage you to turn the paper. Your lines can be geometric, organic. Again, you want things to be thick and thin. You don't want everything to be the same weight. So you'll spend some time kind of going in and just kind of having a little fun and playing with things. Of course, the color black is going to be dominant in a lot of your line work, but this is the chance for you to incorporate things that are color. So for coloring things in, you can use a variety of things. You could certainly use markers. If you have colored pencils are just fine for this. You can actually use colored pencils to blend into one another. So for example, I'm pressing very hard here. When you pick colors to blend, now I'm doing much softer in the middle, I encourage them to either be like a light and dark of the same color family, or you'll want to look at the color wheel, and analogous or neighboring colors are going to blend well together. So now I've got kind of more of a minty green that I'm going to blend into this. That area that I didn't press as hard, I now can take that other color and go into that. Okay, so again, your work should reflect like you spent some time on it, had a little fun. We looked at the artist Vasily Kandinsky for inspiration. You could look up his work. He does all these fun, playful, abstract. Again, they're non-objective. It's not really an image of anything. I'm now taking that first color and I'm blending that back in. Again, this is just all about exploring line, shape, and color. And And again, something with the Bauhaus movement that really changed visual culture was that they truly believed that, you know, the idea of form and function. So what comes first? You know, they believe that really something should be functional and then you make it look cool. So they kind of stripped things down to its most basic form. And then the artist, again, Wassily Kandinsky, kind of explored and experimented. So I'm now going to go a little bit lighter here, meaning I'm not pressing as hard. And again, this is using colored pencils. And then I can take that same green again and mix it back in. And again, you'll spend much more time on this than I am, creating two compositions. The goal is that they don't look exactly alike either. You definitely want to try different things with each one. But again, it's all just exploring using line and shape. And again, variety is the key. If you do not have watercolor, I'm going to just quick demo with watercolor here. So I've got just a little set of kind of school watercolors. Again, I'm going to pick colors that are neighboring on the color wheel. So I've got my watercolor. You don't have to use watercolor. You don't have to use colored pencil. If you only have markers, that's totally okay. Now I'm going to just grab water and paint that in the middle. While this is all still wet, I'm kind of wiggling it down into that. And now I'm going to grab some purple. Remember, it's called watercolor for a reason. The more water you have on your brush, the more fluid it will become and the more intense the pigment will be on the page or on the paper. Again, I turn my paper a lot when I work. I think it's important to not always look at everything from the same vantage point. And now I'm blending this in to that middle area where initially I just put water down, but I'm going to clean my brush, blot it a little so it's just kind of a clean brush that's got a little bit of a dampness. And that's how you can create kind of a blend from one color to the next. Now, if you want to do something like this blend, like a blend, and you don't have watercolors, you can actually use water-soluble markers, meaning it can't be like a Sharpie. And if you get these wet, they will blend just like a watercolor. So all you would need is a brush. If you don't have a paintbrush, you could grab a Q-tip and just dip it in the water and see how it just bleeds. And it looks honestly just like a watercolor. Sometimes I'll do this if like I don't have this. For example, I really like this fuchsia color and I don't have it in my watercolor tray. So sometimes I'll use markers to do this kind of thing. A little bit of water goes a long way, but again, it's watercolor. So you definitely have to get a fluid brush if you plan to move that paint around on the page. So again, the goal is to create initially thumbnails to kind of get your mind rolling and spark interest and get ideas figured out. And then you will make two different compositions on white paper. The heavier the paper, the better. But if you only have like a typing paper, like a printer paper, that will work. It's okay. Again, you're going to use black ink. So whether you have a Sharpie or some other black pen, but remember, if you get just a regular black marker wet, it's going to bleed. Sharpie is permanent, so that's why I didn't get any bleeding around this. You can use colored pencil, marker, watercolor, a combination of them. It's totally up to you. All right, good luck and have fun. I can't wait to see the results.